having a bad day with his feeding tube, so we watched it on TV instead, while the nurse adjusted his medications. Jacob graduated from law school that spring and told me he was going to specialize in disability rights because our case showed him where he could actually help people instead of just making money doing corporate stuff. He set up his practice in the same building where the old therapy center used to be, which felt like some kind of justice, even though nothing could undo what happened. Almost a year after everything started, I was helping Elijah with his morning routine when he looked right at me and said, "Dad," clear as anything, and I just stood there frozen because the doctor said he might never talk again. His special education teacher had been working with him every day using picture cards and sign language, but hearing his voice again made me cry right there in his classroom. The aide they assigned him actually understood autism and didn't try to stop him from rocking or humming because she said that's how he processes the world, and there's nothing wrong with that. Our parent group became an official nonprofit organization with Jennifer as president, and we started reviewing therapy centers and putting together warning signs for other families to watch for. We made this whole checklist of red flags like broken cameras and staff who won't let parents observe, and kids coming home with unexplained injuries or behavior changes. Robert's family moved to another state for a fresh start, but he still helps run our online support group and shares resources about trauma therapy for kids who went through similar stuff. Dr. Hess published this big medical paper about how to tell the difference between kids accidentally eating foam and someone forcing it down their throats, and now emergency rooms have to learn about it in their training. He sent me a copy with all the medical terms, but basically it came down to the pattern of the injuries and how deep the foam went and how old some of it was, which proved what we'd been saying all along. Megan got recognized by the state social work board for how she handled everything, and now she travels around training other social workers about spotting institutional abuse. She told me she uses Elijah's case in every presentation to show how one person speaking up can save other kids, even when the system tries to shut them down. The old therapy center building sold for way less than it was worth because nobody wanted to be associated with what happened there, but at least the money went to the families who sued. Some parents got enough to cover their kids' therapy, but most of us just got a few $1,000s which disappeared into medical bills pretty fast. Mrs. Wilson tried to appeal her sentence, but the appeals court said 5 years wasn't even enough for what she did and denied her request, so at least she's still locked up where she can't hurt any more kids. Miss Lexi lost her therapy license forever, and last I heard she was working at a grocery store, which seems about right for someone who tortured children for a living. 2 years crawled by with Elijah getting stronger each week, but never quite the same kid he was before the foam. His speech therapist worked with him every Tuesday and Thursday, while his occupational therapist came Mondays and Wednesdays, and slowly he started eating soft foods again and making sounds that almost sounded like words. The feeding tube came out after 6 months, and he could swallow mashed potatoes and applesauce without choking, which made me cry the first time I watched him do it. His weight came back up to normal, and the dark circles under his eyes faded, and he started smiling again when I'd tickle his feet or play his favorite cartoon songs. Mrs. Wilson tried to appeal her 5-year sentence, but the appeals court shut her down hard after 3 former employees showed up at her parole hearing to testify about how she'd threatened to fire anyone who didn't meet her behavior reduction goals. One therapist brought emails where Wilson called the kids defective products and said they needed to be fixed by any means necessary.